want to trying to call people who are still outside who are about to start. All right. Just waiting for colleagues to sit down. All right. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elias Matinde. I'm your host this evening. Before we start, I just want to highlight the emergency exits. We have been advised that there's no fire drill, so if the fire alarm goes off, it means we need to evacuate. And there is an exit on my right. Otherwise, we can also use the exits where we did the registration outside. And I believe there is also some health protocols should there be in case of emergency, but today is a happy day. We don't anticipate that. I'm just saying that just to be safe. And we take safety as a priority in the mining industry. And once again, I would like to welcome everyone. We are pleased to welcome you all to the hybrid annual general meeting. For those members online, please post any questions that you may have in the Q&A section, and we'll address them during the proceedings. The minutes of the previous AGM meeting were published in the special edition of the AGM proceedings and sent to all members. I believe all are in order. May I have a proposer for the minutes, that the minutes as circulated be accepted as true reflection of the meeting held on the 15th of August 2024. That was the day I was incarcerated for 12 months. Thank you, Becky. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Prof. Rosemary Falcon. I think we can take the minutes we can adopt the minutes. Once again, I extend a special welcome to our guests and representatives of our sister institutes and other associations, also to the recipients of the awards, senior members of the industry, honorary life fellows, past presidents, our members, other guests who are here, and those who have joined online. In particular, I would like to welcome the past president of the Geological Society of South Africa, Dr. Tanya Marshall. Welcome. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the South African Institution of Mechanical Engineers, the president, Mr. Michel Mashele. Welcome. Past presidents attending, I have Richard Beck, Roger Dixon, Rodney Pickering, Gordon Smith, Dick Stacey, Willem van Niekerk. Thank you for attending, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for your dedication into the Institute. My name is Elias Matinde, as introduced, and I'm the current, well, not for long, I'm the current president of the SAIMM and the Joint Master of Ceremonies. I have Professor Michael Solomon to assist me, and Mr. Kondwani Banda, the chairperson of the outgoing chairperson of the Young Professionals Council. Before I hand over to my co-director of ceremony, I would like to read Michael Solomon's CV. Professor Solomon is a mining engineer with 43 years of experience in the gold, platinum, diamond, and coal sectors. He was the first operational CEO of Wesiso Platinum, a large platinum producing underground mine. He took the company from first borehole through listing on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and the raising of the full funding for the capital construction of Bakbong Platinum Mine, which is now in production. He served on the board of a SX-listed Gold One, the precursor company to Sibanye Stillwater, as chairperson of the Audit and Risk Committee and the Health and Safety and Environment Committee. He is an adjunct professor in the Department of Chemical Engineering at the University of Cape Town, where he specializes in the economic diversification and decarbonization of mines. Professor Solomon is a non-executive director of Sedivelo Resources Limited, for whom he chairs the board technical committee and sits on the ESG committee. He has recently been awarded an honorary life fellowship of the Southern African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy for his contribution to the mining industry in South Africa. He has served as a member of the council for over a decade and chairs the SAIMM ESGS committee. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get a round of applause to welcome Professor Mike Solomon?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my sad duty to begin the proceedings with the announcement of the deaths of the members of the Institute. Retired fellows, Noel Jochen and Henry Simonson, retired members, Frederick de Frey and Sidney Dupree, Martin Fox, Martin Valenta, fellows, members, Larry Ramdani and student Malalwalo Ofensi. May I ask you to please observe a moment's silence in memory of the deceased, and we extend our condolences as the Institute to the bereaved. Thank you very much indeed. The order of the day, we're going to be starting off with our financial and administrative matters, and I'd like to call on our Treasurer, William Jochen, to present a summary of the financial report. William.
Thanks. All right. So this is the status of the finances of the SAIMM. So there's a detailed report in the pack. The auditor's financial statements are included in there, and this just is a summary, just some of the highlights. So between 2024 and 2025, we had an 18% increase in revenue, but cost of sales and our operating expenses also went up by 15% and 14% respectively. And we have a surplus, or at least a deficit of of 240,000 rand. Our investments have performed well, and so we have a positive net position, including our income from the investments. Okay. So just a summary. So this is just focusing on the key revenue of the main components. So the journal is a relatively small component and fairly consistent, but I think I want to draw your attention to the growth in the subscriptions and the corporate partnerships. So that has gone up by 25% since last year, so that's quite significant. We've also, the trend has only shown after the last 5 years, so we've had a significant overall increase in revenue growth since COVID. We're not back up to the heights that we had before COVID, but we're working towards getting there. So the TP revenue is also, the conference revenue has also gone up by 17%. So I think we just need to thank our corporate partners. So we now have 3 mining companies. So Volterra joined us during last year, and then we've 2 new consulting companies, Quasi and Sound Mining, have joined us as corporate partners. And that's the main reason for the growth in subscriptions, corporate partnerships. So I think that's positive. We're obviously hoping to continue to grow the corporate partnerships and so that we can improve our financial sustainability. So again, our costs, you'll see that 2021 and 2022 costs are much lower due to COVID and cost cutting at that stage, but we've been to meet our strategies, we've been gradually growing, so we've increased our staff. During the last year, so some of that increase is strategic, but we also took on the administration of SAIMM, so actually the cost of the additional staff member is fully covered by revenue, which is not reflected in other income. And we also purchased a number of new computers during the year, so the IT costs were significantly higher than in the previous years. But overall, those increases in costs are significantly less than the growth in revenue. So the investment portfolio performs very well. Well, this is the net performance of the portfolio after a drawdown of 2.5 million in 2025. And I think it's just important to note that we've been drawing down since 2013, so we've drawn down 26.2 million. So the investment portfolio has actually performed exceptionally well, and it's helped us sustain through some challenging times, but we don't want to continue drawing down from the investment portfolio. This is just reflecting operating deficits over the past few years, and then our net position, which includes, and then it's positive because of the performance of the investment portfolio. So we'll be reviewing the way we report the accounts during the next year. I'll talk a little bit about that. So some key takeaways. So it's critical that we ensure financial sustainability. We are a non-profit organization, and our investment portfolio has helped us to manage our solvency and liquidity. However, it's remained static. Our growth is significantly less than inflation over the last 5 years, which is not sustainable. So we need to continue to implement the strategies that we've been implementing. So we've also re-established the investment committee to ensure proper governance of the investment fund. So we've got a new policy which we've presented to council. But critically, we must target an operating break-even to prevent drawdowns from the investment fund. And I think and that's mainly going to be through increasing revenue through corporate partnerships. So we've got to continue with the strategies that we have been implementing over the past few years to grow our revenue and increased conference course attendance. And this is our long-term strategy. It's in place. So, and I think we've also identified that we need to improve our operating model. So that we can achieve those objectives. So that'll be better communication of information and efficiency. And Gary will talk a little bit about that during his address, and that's his focus for the 2025-2026. So I just think and if we do manage to perform well, both in terms of operation and the investment portfolio both perform well, then we will be able to offer additional benefits to corporate partners and members at no cost. Now, so just I'll close off with just a special thanks to office bearers, council and committees for all your hard work. Without those commitments, we wouldn't be able to achieve that growth in revenue. So the corporate partners, sponsors, members and delegates. And thanks to our auditors, Genesis Chartered Accountants, and special mention for D. Camperoggio from IFC Investments, who manages our savings extremely well. And then just thanks to Sam, of course, and the Secretariat as well. And Dennis Makundisa resigned at the end of the last year. He's gone to the USA, so we wish him well. And he's handed over to our new financial accountant, Chidiso Nkleko. And that's it. Any questions? No questions?
Right, thank you very much indeed, William. And may I please have a proposer and a seconder for the adoption of the annual financial statements? Proposer? Mark, thank you. Seconder, thanks, good one. Right. Thank you very much indeed. We will now move on to Dr. Elias Mutendi, to our current president, to present the annual report for the last year.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's me again. As a starting point, I think William has emphasized the importance of corporate partners in the financial sustainability of the institute. So I decided to start my presentation by acknowledging the corporate partners: Impala Platinum, Sibanye Water, Fautera Platinum, SRK Consulting, Sound Mining, Ukwazi. And I think through their support, it really helps the institute to be financially sustainable. It also helps with us having a proper mandate and clear direction on how we run the institute in terms of membership value proposition. And once again, thank you very much. And again, as part of our long-term strategy, we are driving our membership growth through the branch activities as well as through the corporate partnerships. And the membership committee led by Tsepo and the branches led by Wongi, they've really done a good job. So far, our current membership is 2,651, and we are trying our best to grow that as well. We want to acknowledge the Northwest branch and the SAIMM branch that was successfully relaunched. We are investing our efforts to relaunch the Botswana and the DRC branches. And of course, corporate partners, branch committees, and corporate sponsors, I think they really did help. The branches held a number of activities which is really, really promising and which really fits into the value proposition of the SAIMM, as you can see on the screen there. And I really would like to thank the respective people for making this a success. And again, in terms of technical programs, which is our engine for the institute, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the committees and the committee chairpersons, Gary and Zelmia, we supported. Also now have handed over to Masin and Vota, and of course supported by Camilla and a team. So the team, the TP committee, have an acumen for organizing high quality events, very informative, very educative, in line with our strategic objectives. And of course, we are very happy to announce that most, if not all, of our TP offerings are aligned with professional standards. They drive the state of the art in terms of knowledge generation, knowledge dissemination in the industry. And we are CPD accredited to regulatory bodies such as EXA and other regional regulatory institutions. And as of in the last financial year, the TP managed to organize 21 events, hybrid events, both in person and online, and with a significant attendance of that being international. And of course, we do I would like to take this opportunity to thank the corporate sponsors who sponsored the events in one form or another, and who managed to raise over 2.8 million rands, which really goes towards contributing to the financial sustainability of the institute. And again, on the screen, I just took a few. These are not all. The list is not conclusive. It's not exhaustive. I just took a few just to show the type of activities that we've held during the course of the year. And what is very important there is the diversity of the knowledge, serving the wide variety of industry sectors within in the regional areas or geographical areas where the institute serves. And again, I would like to thank those who organized the conferences, I think, and participated in the conferences as well as delegates. I think your support is very much well appreciated. And of course, during one of the discussions with one of our branch chairpersons were told that actually students do use our journal to do assignments, and to me that was very, very refreshing. As the institute, we have a publications committee that is responsible for our journal, the journal for SAIMM, highly regarded in the industry. We also publish books, special publications and conference proceedings. And during the course of the year, we had three special editions that were published in terms of the journal, and another one is coming up within the next few, in a week or so, which is the fourth. And of course, there are other special editions that are planned as well into the next financial year. So I'm happy to announce that we had a successful publication on the rare earths, following the success of the rare earths conference held last year. And of course, the seismic activity, we all understand the impact of seismic activity in terms of safety in the mining industry. I think this is also, it shows exactly how we're striving to provide relevance to industry through knowledge and impact as well. And of course, the next one was the third one was the mine closure that was following a successful mine closure conference held. And thanks to the guest editors for making this happen. And the fourth one is coming within a week or so. It's on slope stability. I'm also happy to announce that we had very productive activities in terms of the ESGS committee. And for those who are not familiar as yet, ESGS stands for the Environmental, Social Governance and Sustainability. And we are very much aware that the industry in which we operate in is no longer business as usual. All those aspects, we have to address them. And we had three related events. One of them is the ESG in the minerals industry, which was an online event. And of course, the introduction to ESG, which was also an online event. The ESG conference was a hybrid event held in Muldersdrift. And of course, the mine closure as well. There were a lot of ESG-related presentations and keynote discussions. And of course, I would just want to take a step back and announce to members that we, as an institute, have acknowledged the importance of this of ESGS in the industry in such a way that we've responded by opening up our members to our membership criteria to include those who are participating in the industry as ESG professionals. So it's no longer just you have to be a mining engineer going underground, but your contribution to the industry is also very critical in one way or another. So this is one of the key strategic decisions that we made as office bearers and as council, of course supported by Professor Michael Solomon and Professor Gordon Smith. They have been very instrumental in driving the ESGS, and we still are growing, and I really want us going forward to really make sure that we really are we drive impact in terms of ESGS. And thank you very much for the committee. And of course, the Tailings Working Group is one of our flagship strategic interventions and our participation in the industry. And we are busy revising the SANS 10286, which is on mine residue code of practice. And this is to drive the best practice in managing tailings and mine residues alike in the industry. Of course, we align our activities with the global standards on tailings management, the GISTM, and incorporate the South African specific requirements and best practices in the industry. And Andrew Van Zyl has been very instrumental, and Adele Kotze also very instrumental in driving the committee. And I really would like to thank them. And for those who haven't submitted an abstract, I think we can still make a plan. I hope so. We have a conference which will be held next year in March, which will address some of these issues. We understand the impact of tailings on communities, the impact of tailings on the environment. So I think instead of us mourning about it, we are there to drive the industry. It's our responsibility, collective responsibility. And as SAIMM, I'm proud to announce that we do take note of this, of the need to drive the best practice in the industry in which we operate in. And of course, for those who are very good at public speaking, even if you are not, SAIMM will make a plan to make you feel comfortable. Please join and contribute to our podcast. So I'm happy to announce that we had the Mintergate 90 by Roger Paul, Leading Beyond Boundaries by Mark. Thank you, Mark and Tim. SAMREC Code and its impact on the minerals industry, Nicole and Ken. And the South African and carbon tax, Zelmia and Lawrence. Hydrometallurgy of the future, I think Wuhle and Jochen, and SLO in mining by Cavelo and Alex. I think this is very important because we get to bring up issues and talk about issues, and this was one of the key aspects that we are also driving as well. So your contribution, if you've got that inkling, you know, that voice that we want to add to the industry, please do come and connect with us. But we are very much looking for presentations and talks on to drive our podcast. We also work with other sister organizations, and I would like to thank Sifiso, who is responsible for the SSC, which is the SANCOT and SANCOT. We are busy working on updating the South African mineral codes and aligning them with the CRISCO, the International Body on Reporting, and also updating the South African guidelines for reporting for environmental, social, and governance issues, so that we can incorporate ESGS-related issues from the onset of the mining industry. And of course, we managed to hold a SANCOT breakfast, and thank you for the organizers and the speakers. And of course, we are going to, we have the International Mineral Asset Valuation Conference, which is coming up very soon. Our collaborations with sister organizations as well. William has alluded to the fact that we have managed to extend our secretarial services to SANAYA, the South African Institute of Rock Engineers, and we actually we did organize a conference together, the Afri-Rock International Conference. It was one of the very successful conference. But what is also important for me to announce is the tripartite agreement that we signed with the South African Institute of Mechanical Engineering and the Association of Mine Resident Engineers of South Africa to host the whole conference in 2027. So just watch the space for detail. I think this is going to be a very interesting conference involving sister organizations. And again, it is one of the strategic imperatives that we collaborate as an industry so that we can collectively share and drive value for our members and our industry. And I think I always use this slide. I can't do any presentation about SAIMM without talking about why you should join SAIMM. I think for those who are not members, and if you know someone who's not a member, I think just share with them the SAIMM value proposition as well, which is to show that what we're trying to drive is SAIMM. And I think there's more, the website, you can check our website on the new value proposition, on this SAIMM value proposition. So as part of the strategic thrust to ensure the financial sustainability of the institute, to ensure the relevance of the institute to our members and to the industry in which we operate in, through council, the SAIMM is driving the 4 strategic thrusts that you can, you see on the screen there. One of the first thrusts is to be recognized as the leading institute of the mineral sector. And this is driven by Gary. You will give a little bit more detail during part of his presentation as well. And of course, the second one being to increase diversity and participation of membership to improve delivery capacity of the institute. And I think without members and without membership, the institute cannot exist because we're a voluntary association. And TSEPO is really driving that for us. There has been a lot of progress and a lot of engagement. And the third one that I'm responsible for is equipping our membership to navigate the increasing complexity of the minerals industry it is one of the key issues. The mining that the industry, as we know, it's constantly changing, and it is up to us to see how we can change along. But for you to change along with the industry, we need to be aware of where the key issues that we need to address, the capacity and the competencies that we need to develop as well. And lastly, the last strategic thrust charter is to develop SAIMM, the SAIMM engine for the digital age. And this is led by William. And one of the key aspects as well is to develop SAIMM to be agile in whatever we do, in serving our members, in serving our corporate partners. But if you feel, please, we are very much open to volunteers as well to come and join these strategic thrust charters and help us to drive. We'll be reaching out for anyone who is willing to join. And of course, just a recap about the SAIMM and some of the key issues that we do offer. For those who are not aware, we have access to the onemind.org. It's a repository of conference proceedings, especially those that are not available as free access online. And of course, the publications committee responsible for the journal, the books, special publications, conference proceedings. We do have branches. I did mention that our strategy is to grow the institute, and we've invested a lot of effort through it to drive growth in the various branches in the region, and of course even within the Republic. So for those who are not, who probably are not very familiar with the SAIMM, we have branches in South Africa: the Johannesburg branch, Pretoria, Limpopo, Northern Cape, Northwest, Western Cape, and Zululand. And regional branches, we have Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, Zimbabwe, and DRC. We're trying to reestablish contact with the DRC branch. And of course, the young professionals, I'm not going to take the thunder from the young professionals. Council Kondwan will give his presentation, but we are taking that as a key imperative to drive so that we can regenerate and grow the industry from, organically from entry level upwards. And of course, the special interest groups, I've mentioned the young professionals. The CPD committees, one of our objectives is to educate. So through that, we do have a committee that was constituted and approved by council. And the diversity and inclusion, I did not include a presentation in my highlights, but the committee is working behind the scenes very strongly to make sure that we improve our diversity and inclusion in the mining industry. It's one of our key strategic imperatives. And of course, policy, advocacy, and public affairs is something that we're driving as well, led by Katleko, to make sure that we do influence policy in the environment in which we operate in. And the Scholarship Trust Fund, I'm hoping that we can actually grow that so that we can help to build. Of course, I've mentioned the ESGS, the SSC committees, the tailings, and the SANCOT. And again, the reason why I put up this slide is to say we are always in the market for volunteers. So please, if you feel like you're young and upcoming and you want to level up your game, please just volunteer for the Young Professionals Council. And if you feel like you have done enough, you really want to give back as a veteran, the CPD committee is also another area where we can. And again, is last one. The institute relies on a team of dedicated secretariat led by SAIMM, and some of them are outside. Camilla, Gugu, and everyone. I did not have space to include everyone, but they really do provide us with that constant energy that we need to drive the institute, and they've done extremely well during the tenure, my tenure as president. And I'll just, with this slide, before I hand over, I would like to take a moment and thank them for supporting and being dedicated to the institute. And of course, I think this is where my presentation ends. I'll take questions. Thank you. Any questions on my presentation? Anything that we should focus on going forward? Okay, I'll take silence as happiness. Thank you very much. Okay. My next item is on declaration of election of the office bearers and members of council for the 2025-2026 session. I have the pleasure in announcing that in accordance with the clauses 3.5, 5.1, and 5.2 of the Constitution, the retiring council has elected the following office bearers for the ensuing year. For the president, I'm happy to announce that Gary Lane is gladly accepted to be the president for the coming year. The president-elect, Tsepo Mola, is gladly accepted to serve as president-elect. Senior Vice President, Professor Mike Solomon, will take over. Junior Vice President, Bongi Nselenge, will take over. And immediate past president, I'll gladly take a step back. And then Honorary Treasurer William has agreed to continue with being an Honorary Treasurer. And maybe can I pause and get comments, reservations, applause for the past outgoing president, please. Thank you very much. So the council has elected the incoming junior vice president, and I'm pleased to announce that Mark Monroe is accepted as to join the office bearers as incoming junior vice president. And Mark, welcome to the team. Applause for Mark, please. In terms of the election of honorary members of council, I have to report that in terms of clause 3.2.7 of the Constitution and bylaw B 2.1, there were 14 vacancies, and the following members are now declared elected: Voter Broderick, Adele Kotse, Zore Fakre, Becky Gench, Francisca Lek, Katleko Letialo, Setavile Madolo, Anthony Melo, Kavelo Mosebi, Jacob Motomoholo, I hope I got that, apologies if I messed it up, Sandip Naik, Godnos Njoa, Stephen Ruprecht, and Andrew Van Zyl. Can I have a round of applause as a welcome to commitment to the council? Thank you very much. I think from now onwards, I would like to call Michael Solomon to make the following announcements. Thank you. Mike.
Next on the agenda is to talk about our branches. While the council and the secretariat are charged with driving the institute, actually it's the branches that we are here for and that are our interface right into the industry. And so the amount of work that is done by the branches is remarkable. And I'd like to announce in terms of bylaw F5.2 and F5.3 of the Constitution, the elected chairpersons of the branches. And these are Kubela Mosebi from Botswana. We do not have a branch chairperson in the DRC at the moment, but we do have a branch there. The Johannesburg branch, Amanda Heffer, Namibia, Thomas Ipanda, Limpopo, Stephen Zulu. The Northern Cape is at present vacant. Northwest is Tandakili Nsimbi. Pretoria, Peter Pistorius. With some embarrassment because I'm from the Western Cape is vacant, so I'm representing them today. Zambia, Nathan Kazembe, Zimbabwe, Lloyd Shamu, and Zululand is at present vacant. It's been very active in the past, and we are looking for chairs for these branches. If there are any volunteers, report to Sam and hand your name in. Right, the chairperson of the National Council on Tunnelling and Sandscot this year is Charles Warren Codrington. The Sandcot has been a very active associate organisation for many years, and I'd like to thank Charles for being here today. The branch chairpersons and Sandcot chairperson will serve as ex officio members of the council. In addition to this, the council also comprises a number of past presidents who have signified their willingness to serve on the council today. This is Nick Boxer, Richard Beck, Zelmia Botha, Vaughan Duke, Isabel Geldenhuys, Rodney Jones, Willem Jochen, Cuthbert Msingwini, Jim Porter, Mike Rogers, and Gordon Smith. And we thank our past presidents for their continued participation in the development of the Institute. I'd also like to thank those past presidents who have indicated that they cannot serve on the council for the next year, and thank them specifically for their time and their effort and their dedication to the past efforts. I'd also like to go on to record our thanks for others who have worked towards this institute. The election of the auditors and legal advisors for the year, I would like to propose that Genesis be appointed as the auditors for the coming year, and also propose that CMH attorneys be appointed as legal advisors. May I please have a seconder to my proposals? Thank you very much, Rodney. Right. Another very important aspect of the Institute is the Young Professionals Council. Our future lies in our young professionals, and it's a very important aspect of our Institute. And I'd like to introduce Kundwani Banda as the to report back on the Young Professionals Association. Kundwani is professionally registered chemical engineer with EXA and a certified project management professional, PMP, with 10 years of experience in all stages of project management life cycle. He's an internationally published researcher with pyrometallurgy experience and a strong background in plant operations, commissioning, leadership, and customer relations. He has experience in working with multidisciplinary teams and managing more than 10 projects simultaneously, ensuring timely project delivery. In addition to his technical experience, he also has operational experience in the execution of operational business improvement projects that have contributed to the strategic and business improvement directives of the major platinum producers in South Africa. He holds an MSc in metallurgical engineering and a BSc in chemical engineering from the University of Witwatersrand. He is passionate about human capital development and actively mentors junior to mid-level engineers and participates in professional organizations and associations. Kundwani was the chairperson of SAIMM's Young Professionals Council, the SAIMM YPC, for the past 2 years, and has been heavily involved with the SAIMM since 2015. Kundwani.
It's actually been a while since I've been properly introduced. Felt like a pastor for a bit there. So first of all, I want to greet everyone. Good afternoon. I'll be introducing the new Young Professionals Council members. So in terms of the bylaw I 4.4.6, the young professionals must consist of a minimum 13 and a maximum of 18 members who are 35 years old and younger. For this term, we received the required number, so there was no need for us to conduct a formal voting process. And so the following YPC members have been ratified. So the first person is Tembi Chauke, Tonderai Chikanda, Tinashe Chikomo, Yunali Hall, Sivana Hanuman, Lisedi Mabale, Melia Mehwe, Tanya Mapaire, Adelaide Mohanedi, Khwetsione Motiane, Emmanuel Msimango, Kutato Mutanani, Tandile Sixesha, Makiti Tema, and Michael Thomas. The office bearers are Connie Chijara will be the chairperson, Tokyo Ndlela will be the vice chairperson, Nigel Mukonoshweru will be the secretary, Tanya Mapaire will be the treasurer, and myself will be the immediate past chairperson. I'd like to call back Prof. Solomons to the podium.
Particularly because I've got to give you a... Kondwani, you've done a magnificent job in the last couple of years, and we're deeply grateful for your efforts, and I'd like to give you this as a token of our appreciation from the Institute. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. So I had a few, well, it's like 2 slides that I wanted to share. And where I wanted to sort of start off in terms of giving feedback is just to remind us why we have the Young Professionals Council. So let me just take this off for a bit. Okay, the slides are slightly moved. But one of the things that we do have a challenge, especially within Southern Africa, it's youth unemployment. And, within South Africa, we have noticed that youth unemployment is still quite a challenge, passing the 40% mark. And what that means is that we have young professionals participating less within the mining and minerals industry, but in all other industries within Southern Africa. And what we've also noticed is that there's limited access to career guidance as well as mentorship opportunities. And one of the key challenges is because you find that young professionals tend to go into isolated environments that are quite remote, and access to professional engineers or just career guidance mentors, that does become a challenge. Especially once one starts working, the key focus usually is to get the job done. And what we have also noticed is that in terms of growing their networks, this also then becomes a challenge where you find that they are executing their work, but they're not growing within the industry. And we also have noticed that there's a mismatch in terms of the skills that young professionals have as well as the industry exposure. So meaning that often when they graduate, their qualifications versus what's happening in the industry, there's a gap there. And also some of the things that we have noticed is that because of young professionals being scattered across different regions, access to resources that help them develop, as well as events that help them connect with other young professionals, there tends to be a gap there. So essentially, I do believe that as the young professionals, ever since inception, one of the key things that we've been doing is to advocate, support, as well as empower young professionals and students within the mining and minerals industry by bridging the gap between education as well as the industry. Some of the initiatives that we've been running aim to address the issues that we have identified. So we do have a mentorship program that allows us to connect young professionals to mentors, that the mentorship pool that we have within SAIMM. And what that means is you would have a mentee that's in Zimbabwe being mentored by a mentor that's in South Africa, similarly across other branches as well, so that we bridge that gap in terms of career guidance. We also have outreach programs that we run, so within Johannesburg, other branches as well, like Limpopo, Zimbabwe, Namibia, as well as the Northwest branch. And the whole idea is to ensure that we support the young professionals in their career development by giving them the right tools and knowledge. One of the things that I'm very excited about, and still in the early stages, we are putting together a job portal as well as a graduate placement tool. And the idea here is we give opportunities to young professionals. So how this will effectively work is that we'll have a database of young professionals that are unemployed and have graduated, and then linking that to opportunities within the mining and minerals industry. So we've partnered up with ITM, who will assist us in terms of facilitating that, placing the graduates, but also helping them get the right skills to get the necessary certificates for them to proceed. Essentially, this will be a 1 year, we'll have a mandatory 1 year period for them to go through the internship. And then from year 2, should they get better opportunities, then they can move on and then leave the opportunity for others that do not have employment. So as mentioned, that the key thing that we're trying to do is advocate and ensure that we are representing young professionals, because often we do find that there is a gap in terms of some of the challenges that they face versus some of the challenges that might be faced at an industrial scale. We also have put focus in terms of technical and networking platform. So annually we're gonna be having what we call the YPC month. Now within this month is where we just focus on all initiatives that empower young professionals. So we have the student debate and student colloquium, which essentially gives students a platform to build their careers as well as start building their brand and putting themselves out there so they can get opportunities, but also have their voices heard. And then we have the Young Professionals Conference, which then allows young professionals that are already working in the industry or doing their postgrad studies to come and share some of the research work that they're doing or some of the case studies that they are doing in the environment, which allows them to connect with other young professionals, but also start building strong networks and a career trajectory. We have relaunched our electronic magazine, which aims to give a platform for young professionals to share thought leadership, but also where we have young professionals producing research papers, including them in that magazine, so that that information can easily be accessible to all young professionals, no matter their geographical region. So our ongoing commitment essentially is that we exist to open doors, create opportunities, and advocate for systematic change so that young professionals in the mining and minerals industry can strive. And this is something that we will continue to do as the young professionals keeps moving from heights to heights. And I do look forward to my successor, Connie Chijara, to continue implementing our SAIMM RPC strategy, but also ensuring that we create a strong and everlasting impact in the mining and minerals industry. I'd like to thank you all.
Thank you very much indeed, Kandwani. This institute's 130 years old, and we look forward to the continued trajectory and growth of the industry under the YPC. I never fail as a council member to be impressed at how active they are and how creative they are in engaging with the youth in an industry such as ours, which is changing very rapidly. And stressing with critical minerals and what else is happening in the subcontinent. They are the future, and they have the future because of those who have served in the past. And it gives me great pleasure to announce 50-year membership awards to a number of people. Unfortunately, most of them are not able to be here, but I would like to read out the names of our 50-year member awardees. Lothar Anderson, Julian Baker, Gordon Bamford, Ian Barker, Paulus Kutzer, Clive Nobbs, Tianis Kutzer, Brian Loveday, Dean Rabi, Peter Radcliffe, Horst Wagner, Neil Webb, Richards Beck, and Michael Whitted. All of those are unfortunately unable to join us today. But I'd like to call on the one person that is here, Anthony Buerta, to come up and receive your well-earned pin. That's sure. Bill Statham was unable to be with us today, and Professor Dick Stacey is his proxy to receive his award, and I'd like to ask Dick to come up and get Bill's award. And Professor Rosemary Falcon has been desperately gesticulating towards Richard Beck, who is not forgotten. He is last and best. So Richard Beck has been with us for 53 years, but when he was due to receive his award, it was during COVID and he was unable to do that. And so it gives me a great deal of pleasure to satisfy Professor Falcon that you have not been forgotten. Right. Going on to the next session, we're going to present our outgoing presidential award, and I'd like to call on Dr. Elias Matindi, who's done a sterling job in office over the last year, to give him his award. And I'd then like to call on Dr. Matindi to vacate his chair and, and say a few words of thanks, and then we will move on to the induction of our new president, Mr. Gary Lane. Elias.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I really am going to make it very short and sweet. I think it's been a journey. I really appreciate the confidence and the trust that the Institute bestowed upon me last year to be the president. And I really would like to thank the office bearers, the council, the SAIMM secretariat for making my life very, very easy. I think I really had good managers and people who could help me to get through the day despite my forgetfulness. All of a sudden I started losing my memory. I don't know what happened, but it was really a very, very productive and also rewarding year for me. I think I learned a lot. I started this journey as a pyrometallurgist, but I think I can proudly say that I walked out as a mining industry professional. I really enjoyed spending time at conferences, talking to people, and understanding what is a rock best. I didn't know that there's something like that. I didn't know that we can actually measure a strain on a rock. I thought it was only applied to alloys. So I really felt like it was a very important part of my journey as an industry professional. I think now I understand the institute better. I've been there at the driving seat. It helps me to serve the institute even with more energy and vigor going forward. I've identified areas I am always, I take myself as a teacher. When I joined FITS, Professor Rosemary Falcon actually took me under her wing. I'm glad that she's here today. She really did help, and I really want to go back and assist the young professionals as well in one or another. That's my commitment to the industry. I think going forward, I've said enough about myself. Today is not my day. I'm out of jail, so I can, I need to hand over the institute to a very capable colleague, Gary Len, and I have his very short CV here with me. Please allow me to read his CV. With a passion for transforming the mining industry, Gary Len has established a global reputation as an industry leader and innovator over the past 3 decades. Gary's distinguished career began with Anglo American, where he held various engineering and project management roles, successfully delivering multiple mega capital projects. After completing his MBA, he co-founded SAIMM Corporation 23 years ago, a pioneering consultants focused on mining optimization that helped reshape industry approaches to operational excellence. His entrepreneurial vision led to the launch of a technology startup dedicated to the next generation mining solutions, followed by the establishment of the Vilma Group of companies 8 years ago. The Vilma Group specializes in accelerated adult learning and people-centric consulting with an emphasis on systems thinking, addressing the critical human element often overlooked in technical industries. Gary is a fellow of the SAIMM and served as the chairperson of the SAIMM technical programs for the past 7 years. And I was informed that Gary does not drink and smoke, so I don't know how I can trust a man who cannot drink and smoke, who does not drink and smoke. I was raised the other way around, so you can understand. But I also reliably informed that Gary is an avid health. He looks after his health. He likes to cycle. He likes to keep fit, and above all, he has a passion for carrot cake. So, for those of you, I think this is gonna be the easiest to bribe president in the history of mankind. Just make sure that there is carrot cake, and over to you, Gary. I think this is your day, and
thank you, Elias, for those kind words. Yes, it is easy to bribe me with carrot cake. I've got some big shoes to fill here, so I'm going to have to do my best over the next 12 months. If you have a look at the title of my keynote, you're probably wondering, what does this mean from an effort-driven to a people-centric operating model? If you did read the abstract that's in the proceedings, you'll probably get a bit of an idea. Otherwise, I'm going to try and explain what this is all about. I'll only be about 1.5 hours, so don't worry. So this opportunity to become president, why did it happen? And how's my career helped me get to this point that I can actually give back to the SAIMM in the industry? Well, it's probably because of my parents that are sitting here. I don't want to embarrass them there. That was 30 years ago, so they're a little bit older now. And I'm also a little bit older, so that's when I graduated from WITS with my engineering degree. The reason I'm in mining, Anglo American gave me a scholarship in 1987, graduated in 1990, and I was this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed engineer with no experience and no clue what the world had in store for me. I put this slide in specifically for the YPC members here. So Kondwani, Connie, Tanya, any other young professionals. I put this in to really say that your career journey is a journey of learning, and there are some deliberate choices that you make along the way. So there I started with my degree, lots of theory, no knowledge. And the first thing I did is I did my stint at Anglo American. I was very lucky. In those days is when Anglo was still building mines all around Africa. So I never realized how fortunate I was to be able to have built some big, massive projects right through Africa and been thrown in the deep end in project management roles. When I explained to people that we built a mine in Mali and we didn't even have telephones or internet or email, we used a satellite telephone, and I would use a fax machine through satellite telephone, and we built the mine, a multi-billion rand mine, on schedule. And people say, how can you do it without email? Well, we could do it with a fax machine on satellite telephones. So after my stint at Anglo American for 10 years, I'd always set a aim to do an MBA. So I did my MBA after 10 years, did that, realized I could actually do other stuff other than engineering. Went back to Anglo-American and they didn't know what to do with me. They said, no, you're an engineer and here's your engineering career path. So that's when I made the first decision to leave and get involved in a startup business. And the startup business was basically a mining consulting business that we started from 2 of us, grew it to over 100 people, and it focused on detailed techno-economic modeling in the mining industry, optimization, got into software development, which was a nightmare, and a lot of detailed technical solutions, dashboarding, trying to add value to the mining industry through implementing advanced scenario planning, economic modeling, all right? But I got to a point where I asked this question. We were not actually adding value. We added value while we were on site, while the consultants were there running the models, while we were using the technology ourselves. And I had this question, what am I missing? Because I'm not actually adding value, even though I've got the most sophisticated solutions that we're adding to the mining industry. So the question really was, you know, we've got 10 years ago, actually, this was 10 years ago. I actually did, at that time, a keynote to the MPES conference, and the topic was, has ROI generated return? Or sorry, has technology generated return? Because what was interesting is the mining productivity, multi-factor productivity, had declined globally in some areas by 50% over the preceding 10 years, even though we had new technology, ERP, all the latest stuff. So the motor industry had shown a 300% improvement in productivity at that same time. So, you know, the question was, what have they been doing right? It was very interesting. Toyota seemed to have led the way with their TPM methodology, which is very much around systems thinking and integrated understanding of the value stream. That little graph at the bottom there was from 10 years ago. You can't see it, but basically showing the mining industry had dropped productivity while the motor industry had grown by 300%. So that was a pivotal point for me. And I then went and got involved then with a colleague from Australia, Harry Cinco, and we started looking at what is the motor industry doing right, what is the mining industry not doing, what can we learn. We had a whole lot of hypotheses. So we tackle a whole bunch of stuff around skills development and systems thinking. I went and understood what Lean Six Sigma is, theory of constraints, systems thinking, operating models, to try and work out what is actually the challenge. I've been very fortunate now over the last 10 years to have worked across multiple industries globally, and I'll give you some of those insights of what I've found relative to other industries in the mining industry. So now I stand here in 2025, and I want to give back to the industry, and I want to lead the SAIMM. So I think the important thing is here that your journey of continual learning, there are deliberate choices you make along the way that will architect where you can end up. So let me talk about maximizing a value stream in mining, because you think about it, a mine is just a value stream of interconnected activities where we've connected activities. Yes, it's a complex connected system that's dynamic. There's variability in performance of all those individual activities, and there's variability in our ore. But what we want to do ultimately is maximize the flow of material through that value stream at the minimum cost. That's ultimately what we want to do. Now, if you're market constrained, yes, it's probably going to be, we'll match market demand, again, at minimum cost, but ultimately it's about optimizing that value stream. Now, we do have data. If you had to ask everyone, they go, no, we need more data. We've got more than enough data. We don't even use what we've got. We're probably only using 5 or 10% of the data we've currently got anyway, and we want to put more solutions in. Now, there are some incredible BI tools out there. You know, there are tools around how to maximize flow, how does variability impact performance, things like value stream mapping, attack time for calculating your constraint, time value analysis, various solution tools that come across from Lean and Six Sigma, and implementation tools. So you can do all of this stuff. You can find the constraint. What I've highlighted there in that red activity is that is the constraint of the system, and that's what's defining what the system's capability is. So we can find the constraint, and we have the tools to find it, and we can train the BI teams with all those tools and how to find the constraint to maximize performance. But guess what? We send the BI team back into the mining operation, and we don't actually achieve an increase in performance, or we may achieve an increase in performance for a short while, but it's not sustainable. And the question is, well, why are we not able to do that? And we've got all this advanced decision-making tools. And now there's even AI there. And now I have put Excel in there as well, because unfortunately, globally, Excel, and you'll be glad to know it's not just in mining, it's in every single industry globally. Excel's probably the tool of choice for data gathering and data reporting and decision making still in this age. So we've got a whole lot of new technology now. Hey, we've got dashboards, we've got Power BI, we've got Azure, we've now got AI. That's incredible. Operating centers. All right, so we've got all of this stuff, and yet we are still battling. So this is all about people, isn't it? Because people make the decisions. People are what actually action the insights that we're creating. So we have this great organizational structure that HR have done. It looks good. CEO, GM at the top of this hierarchy with potentially HR roles and responsibilities. But in reality, it's an effort-driven organization with a bunch of people running around tactically firefighting to try and achieve an outcome. And interestingly, that's what we do see across. I mean, the original hypothesis was there was a skills and capability gap around understanding how to optimize a value stream that was a mining challenge, but it's in fact a global challenge across industries. And I'll talk a little bit about it on the next slide. So this is what we call the effort-driven organization. You know, and not all organizations are as bad as this, but generally you'll find these common denominators across all these industries. So what do we find? People working below their level, their pay grade, okay? So everyone's running around one level lower. The GM is preoccupied with explaining yesterday's performance and not looking forward to try and set up the operation for success. So they're trying to explain why yesterday's production wasn't met. Too many meetings that add value. That's probably the curse of our current age. The number one thing everyone moans about is all I do is go to meeting after meeting after meeting, and there's actually no value being added from any of those meetings. Initiative overload. You know, GMs have got this long list of initiatives and projects they're doing across that whole value stream. Imagine if you knew where your constraint was and you're managing it effectively, and you then evaluated your initiative list against where your constraint was, you probably find there's only 2 projects and initiatives you actually need to do. But yet we're doing 100 of them across that whole value stream. Reactive firefighting, roles and responsibilities not clear. I mean, you'd think that should be something that should have been easy to sort out, but yet we find role duplication, no role clarity, duplication of responsibilities then, you know. And then it goes down into, you know, KPIs not linked to business outcomes. We've got lack of accountability. No one seems to be accountable. So you end up with finger pointing, people trying to cover their backsides because, you know, it's not clear, roles not clear, measures are not clear, people don't do what they say. And then burnout, low morale, high turnover staff. Now, those are only some of the issues that we see, but generally we see these in a lot of the organizations globally, and there are more examples of the effort-driven organization as well. So I've been very fortunate. I've been able to work across multiple industries, and every single industry is a connected set of activities. So whether you're doing a chocolate manufacturing, it is a set of connected activities where you've got people trying to maximize flow of chocolate to make lunch bars, and it's connected activities. If you're looking at a tissue and toilet paper manufacturer, exactly the same. It's a set of interconnected activities. It's the same. Now, what's important is the technical knowledge related to mining, chocolate, toilet paper, tissue manufacture. That's different. In the one, you have metallurgical engineers and rock engineers, mining engineers. In chocolate, you have chemical engineers, understanding the crystalline structure of chocolate. In tissue paper, you've got process engineers who understand the chemistry around paper manufacture. But the process of managing a set of connected activities is exactly the same. If you had to speak to the engineers trying to maintain the equipment on any of those production lines, you could literally be describing the challenges that we face in mining. They're identical. You could copy and paste the case study. High-tech equipment manufacture using product lifecycle management, from research through development, through manufacture and support. Same thing as well. Throwing prototypes from development straight into production without going through a pre-production designed, effective process. Lab-grown diamonds, been around for 30 years, totally effort-driven in terms of how they operate. And even the IT function of a global company. If you think about an IT company, they're a set of processes. They've got capital, they've got a digital project pipeline, and they've got to deal with desktop support and calls, very much the same as an engineering function, because you logging service requests and work orders to do maintenance on a piece of equipment. All this happens to be a computer and technical equipment and infrastructure. So exactly the same thing happens as well. So they are different in terms of the unique specialist engineering requirements related to that specific industry, but the connected nature of the activities and how you manage those connected activities is exactly the same. They're all trying to maximize that throughput, with engineers trying to maintain that equipment, production trying to minimize their downtime on the flow, with constraints sitting in the system, and they're all trying to meet their budget targets. That's ultimately what everyone's doing. Because the budget target is what defines your behavior in the operations, because it links to your bonus. And this is what was even more surprising. It doesn't matter the level of digital maturity. So whether you've got a digital shop floor, whether you've got advanced process control, automation, 5-meter screens with real-time information, you faced exactly the same people challenges. In fact, in the digital operations, it's actually worse, because there's more data noise, and therefore more indecision. So in fact, it doesn't improve it, it makes it worse. So what's a people-centric operating model? So now we've got this value stream. We want to maximize flow. We know where our constraint is. We've designed it effectively. Now, there's just one comment I want to make about this value stream. And what we're finding is there are a lot of, and even to this day, there are a lot of mining value streams that have been designed that are balanced systems. And balanced systems mean that when you throw variability of performance into a balance, and when I say balanced system, the average throughput of all of the connected activities is the same, and we've designed it to match, because that's what we've been told is the most economical use of capital and resources. But what happens is when you throw variability of ore, variability of performance into that equation, you end up with that red block shifting left to right continually. So what that means is you've got a management team now that's having to manage an operation where they don't actually know where the constraint is, and the constraint is shifting dynamically all the time. Imagine that versus an operation where we know where the constraint is, it's been designed. I'd love to actually see a value stream on every single boardroom wall in a mining operation, with the key metrics showing what that activity can actually achieve, with an indication of where the constraint is. Because now think about it. If you're a management team and you know where your constraint is, if you're doing engineering maintenance and that bunch of job cards came out from SAP or planned maintenance, and you've got 25 job cards to do tomorrow, do you just start at number 1 and work through number 2, number 3? Or do you actually now take those and say, wait a minute, I know where my constraint is. I'm going to prioritize where the constraint is, because that downtime is worth more than the downtime in the other activities, because if I've designed it effectively, I've actually got catch-up capacity. But yet we just do all those job cards. So, and that then defines the asset strategy or the stores strategy, because now your stores strategy must mean that that red block never ever gets held up, but the other stuff can, because you've got catch-up capacity if you design it and you understand it correctly. So what are we actually missing? Because we've got this value stream, we can understand where the constraint is, we can design it effectively, and we've got all this great technology and dashboarding and real-time information, and we now got AI, which is also adding significant value. So it all starts with leadership. It doesn't matter what level of operating model or anything that you've put in, and I'll talk about in a sec. Leadership is fundamental, because what that does is that gives strategic direction and purpose. And we all assume that everybody in the operations understand it. You can't over-communicate our objective that we need to achieve. often on operations, the planners would often say to you, imagine if I just knew what actually needed to achieve. So this is critical. I've then highlighted something in black, because what we have picked up in the last 10 years is if you haven't got a clearly defined operating model, you haven't got the rules of the game sorted out, if you haven't got the right KPIs and finger pointing starts happening and you end up with a lack of trust, you end up in a situation where the team hasn't got psychological safety. And what does lack of psychological safety lead to? Everyone's covering their backsides, everyone's pointing fingers at each other, no one's taking accountability for everything, and people are hiding. So one of the critical things to do from a leadership perspective is you've got to be able to create psychological safety within the team, because a team with psychological safety are going to speak up. And this is not about saying, oh, we're all buddies here and we have psychological safety. No, you're in an environment where we know the rules of the game. I know I can be held accountable. I know what I'm responsible for, and I know what you're responsible for. So that is critical to success of anything else. And that's why I've put this first. And then there's a whole bunch of other things around, asking the right questions to create the focus in the team. Because one of the key things we need is we need to create focus, because we've only got so much brain capacity that we can utilize. So we've got to create that focus on where do we put all our effort to achieve the outcome that we need. And part one is obviously understanding where the constraint is. Also, the driving of the development, implementation, and improvement of the operating model. And I'll talk about what on earth is this thing called an operating model. Drive accountability. I mean, that's key. Hey? We're finding that across industries, there is a lack of accountability down an organization, and there needs to be work done on driving that accountability. And then the coaching and mentoring, which is critical of a leadership role. The next thing we need an information model. Now, this is not the data model sitting in the database that is done by IT. Because we've got lots of databases sitting across the operation, sitting in our different management systems, sitting in our fleet management system, all that kind of stuff. I'm talking here about the information model required for the business, owned by the business, and what are the metrics you need to make the right decision. So this is not a detailed database structure. This is basically saying, what does your overall data model look like? And it should be able to be drawn on one A0 piece of paper around what are all the leading indicators, what are output metrics, and what are the critical metrics and it's actually not a lot of metrics. Value driver trees are a great way to display that. I think that just like we see a value stream map drawn on the wall of a boardroom, we do need to see value driver trees, because that is a mental model of what are the metrics and leading indicators I can influence that are the levers that impact output performance. Because remember, tons produced is an outcome. It's an output metric. We've got to work out what are the leading indicators that you can impact up front around planning, scheduling, resourcing that impact production. Because those are the leading indicators that will actually be able to influence, at the end of the day, your production. So, unambiguous definitions of data. So many of these databases have got the same variable multiple times, no clear definition, no one understands how to use them. We've spent hundreds of millions on integrating all of our data together, and we don't even understand our definitions, and it must be credible and accessible. The third thing is skills and capability. We need some core skills, depending on your role, obviously. One of the most critical skills that we need to develop is, and I've highlighted this again in black, is effective meeting planning and leadership. How do you run an effective meeting? Because when you go into an operation, everyone's too busy, they don't have time, they're running between meetings, and you've got to actually get time to do the thinking, planning, forward-looking, and you can learn how to do an effective meeting planning. We're prepared to spend 2 hours sitting in a meeting, having a conversation and not achieving the outcome, but we haven't got time to plan our meeting effectively. So that's number one. We are finding, and this is not mining, hey? I'm talking generally here, data skills. Hey? So even though we're talking AI and we're talking pivot tables and incredible, we are missing some core data skills right across the organization. Tools and methodologies around understanding flow and the impact of variability in flow. This is the tool sets of Lean Six Sigma theory constraints. You know, everyone in the organization should understand at least the basics of it. The BI team could understand the full detail of how it's actually done. Graphical tools, we don't know how, we're using still bar charts and line charts. There are some really powerful tools that you can use that leverage some of the statistics you would have done at varsity. So this is not about the crazy stuff at varsity that we learned that was so complicated. This is just using the basic control charts, capability histograms, and then being able to use them in a meeting to effectively make decisions using the right tools. And I'll show you how 2 of those tools can be used. And then decision-making tools. We sit in meetings with lots of people. I mean, if you think about it, you call up a meeting with 10 people for an hour. That's 10 people who've had lots of experience in a meeting for an hour. We haven't planned effectively for it, so we don't know what the outcomes are, and we haven't planned how we're going to achieve the outcomes. And then we haven't even got the right decision-making tools to take all the input that everyone's got to actually make a decision. And there are some great decision-making tools that are easy to use, that if we know what they are, we can drive to an outcome in a meeting. And it's all about process. And I think the critical thing is we are all content experts. So in a meeting, we've all got input of content and experience and solutions. What we're lacking is process. Plan the meeting, execute it, and decision-making tools. And then the last thing, operating model. Now, all these things link together. So, you know, you can't go and put an operating model in if you haven't sorted out the leadership and psychological safety. You're not going to be successful. If you haven't got the information model and the data, you're not going to be successful. And if you haven't got the skills and capabilities. So, and this is not about having everything in place. It is on a journey of implementing this as you architect your organization so the right people are doing the right work at the right time. And the last point, as I said, they'll interact with each other. And you can start with just your meetings and get your meetings sorted out and your meeting system sorted out and making sure every meeting you go to is effectively planned. So here's an example of an operating model framework. And you know, irrespective of whether, and I'm not going to show them to you, but if you had a look at operating models from an IT function, from a product lifecycle management, a mining company, from tissue manufacturer, chocolate manufacturer, you'll see the same principles apply across all of them. They've all got to do operational planning. They've all got to execute and work. They've all got people doing it. They all need data. So here's the fundamental building blocks of an operating model. You first need to sort out levels of work, because somebody has to worry about the hourly achievement of the work, and he's worrying about hours. Somebody's worrying about the shift in the day. Somebody's worrying about the week achievement. Someone's worrying about the month. And someone's worrying about the year, 2 years ahead. So you've got the tactical people worrying about the hours with escalation if they're not achieving what they should be achieving in terms of the schedule, versus the executive that are strategic, that are worrying about 1 year to 10 years ahead. And that levels of work is quite critical to achieve. We then need performance measures. Performance measures that are cascading and linked right from the top of the organization, whatever the output metric might be, EBITDA, free cash flow, right down to the leading indicators right at the bottom that we can actually influence the top metric, and mapped to the levels of work so that we can now start measuring the performance. Now, this is not about knocking someone on their head because they're not performing. It's about trying to understand the performance of our system so that we can improve our system on a continual basis and understand our leading indicators. Then we need management routines. What are management routines? Well, all of you in leadership roles and running teams and running organizations, your management routines are your tool. Because an effectively designed drumbeat of management routines with an effectively designed meeting is the way that you can effectively manage your system and achieve the outcomes you require in terms of performance and the continual improvement feedback loop. It's almost like an electrical circuit. If you've designed a circuit and you've got a feedback loop, you will continue to improve that feedback loop. So that's critical. And then we've got to build the functional processes. Now, generically, you know, across most organizations, there are 3 levels. There is a strategic planning level, which is all about setting our expectation, and there needs to be a process and a drumbeat of how we do annual planning, What are the inputs into, annual strategic planning, what are the inputs into that? How does it work? Who goes there? How do we do it so that it's a standard planning wheel? We then go into operational planning. Again, doesn't matter which industry that is or what mining operation it is. And what that's about is saying, well, what are the resources we need to effectively deliver on the expectations? So that's all about capability management. It's about understanding where we currently perform and how we're going to get to where we need to perform. The tool of choice there is your capability histogram, because your historical performance indicates your current performance, and if you set your spec limits as your target, you understand the gap between your current performance and your future performance. And then you've got things there that you have to do. Projects to improve performance, your normal financial budgeting process, your org design, ops plan, and all those things that you normally do in operation. And importantly, your asset maintenance strategy. Okay, that is a critical thing, because the asset maintenance strategy, which is around how are we going to maintain all of our equipment, is it going to run to failure? Are we doing preventative maintenance? Are we doing inspections? Is so critical to that process, and we actually don't do that very well, unfortunately. Again, not just mining. Hey. And then work management. Now, what work management is about is saying I need a confident system to be able to deliver with a low level of variability. So I'm able to deliver every time confidently, and with a feedback loop that drives improvement. So, it's around what work am I doing, how am I planning it, scheduling it, resourcing, executing on it with escalations, and the feedback loop. Now, what's interesting is you find that because of the effort-driven organization, even the GM, up to the GM, is probably muddling around in work management, trying to explain yesterday's performance. You really need the HODs and GM and management to be focusing on capability management, which is a forward-looking view of how I'm going to manage my capability, and your production team to be able to deliver confidently in a good work management system, and only escalate what needs to be escalated if you're not meeting achievements. All right. So does it work? So here's a real case study, and this is from Ireland, actually. So this company had implemented a MES system. For those of you who don't know what MES is, Manufacturing Execution System. So it's basically a shop floor. This is a manufacturing facility with diamonds. They did a full implementation, couple of million, to invest in MES, digitalization of the shop floor with all the Power BI reporting. Management could see all the metrics that they wanted to see. They met every single morning, had a nice stand-up, looked at all the metrics. And there was no improvement in there. And in this instance, it wasn't necessarily just throughput. They were looking at total lead time. If you understand Lean Six Sigma, total lead time is from when something enters production to when it leaves production. How long does it take? They were getting orders in from the oil and gas industry. They need to deliver in 3 days, and they were taking maybe 12 to 14 days to deliver an order. So if you had a look at a people-centric operating model, and nothing complicated, just engage the shop floor personnel, understand where the constraint is in your system, understand its capacity, and just put in a very, very simple work management system, which had shift planning, capacity planning, very simple Excel scheduling, execution, and then a review and feedback loop. With, interestingly, the dashboards that management had built for themselves were actually of no use, because those dashboards didn't measure leading indicators. We needed leading indicators on the shop floor of the actual metrics that the shop floor personnel had to manage to be able to manage their total lead time. So that's what the graph looked like afterwards. I mean, that's quite an incredible, and this is a control chart. There is the control chart. You'll see the little blips that happen. That's because it's Saturdays and Sundays. Because Saturdays and Sundays, they don't run. They're a five-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-day operation. So every time there's a Saturday and Sunday, there's a blip of 2 days. But averaging now, at the moment, about 2.8 days compared to their 12 days. And it's been sustained now for almost a year with a very simple work management process in place. So we're going to walk our talk. So SAIMM is going to be developing, so Sam and her management team are building the SAIMM operating model, because we have a whole bunch of volunteers that do stuff in our council, across our different committees, and in our office bearers, we have a secretariat that has events, marketing, journal, finance, marketing. How does all of this fit together effectively so we can deliver a repeatable, reliable service to all of our customers? And our customers are the members in our industry. I'm not going to go into the detail of this, but if anyone is interested to see the SAIMM operating model in more detail, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. This will be the focus. And it's not just a one-year focus. The important thing about the operating model is it has to continually improve and self-heal as we pick up issues. So when something goes wrong, it's not about who messed up. And that's important. It moves from the finger pointing to what in our system has resulted in the outcome we don't want. And that's critical so we don't point fingers. So these are the bits and pieces that we're building. So if you think about it, every single one of those blocks, if you're looking at events needs a management routine to effectively manage. How do we manage that whole process with all of these subcomponents so that you're basically managing a system? It is your system. So the SAIMM operating model is a system, and each of the subsystems all have these components that you need to build. Now, I'm not going to go through the detail of this. The most important, the number one is your most important. That's where you start. So if all of you as leaders, managing teams, businesses, functions, the first thing you do is sort out your management routines, And I'll talk about that on the next slide, because that is your tool. If you get the management routines going and you start identifying where the gaps are, it will drive the development of all the other stuff, especially if you've got the feedback loop so that you're reviewing how you're doing in terms of performance and then what in the process must improve. So there's the last thing. Where do you start? Okay. You need a good meeting agenda. It needs to be planned properly. It's not a list of things you want to talk about. If you don't list exactly the purpose of why you're having the meeting, and you need to, and this is not, and I would recommend if you want to write a good agenda, you probably need to take as much time planning it as you would in running the meeting, and then go and speak to the person in the office next door to get some input, to see that it makes sense. So the first thing is, why am I having the meeting? What's the purpose? Then what are the outcomes I want to achieve? And they're tangible outcomes. So what will define a good meeting if I achieve the meeting? That will also help you understand who should be at the meeting. So we don't have all these people sitting in the meetings that actually don't add value and aren't there to achieve the outcomes. I'm sure a lot of you go to the meeting, a lot of meetings, and wonder, why on earth am I actually sitting in this meeting? And then you need to plan all of the individual steps, which is the agenda, of what are the results I need through the meeting to be able to achieve my outcomes. So it's clear. We need to prioritize the following items, or we need to agree on something. And how are you going to do that? Are we going to brainstorm stuff? Are we going to use certain decision tools? Are we going to present a presentation? If you follow this process, and writing good agendas takes a lot of practice. It needs to be practiced, tried. The last point on your agenda, number 6, which I didn't actually include in here, is plus delta feedback. Because at the end of the meeting, just go around the table and say, can I have 1 plus for the meeting and how it went, plus 1 delta? Because immediately, and there's no judgment. I'm not saying, oh, well, this is why I did it. No, give me 1 plus, 1 delta, say thank you. Now, that does 2 things. I'm going to improve my meeting, but every single person that was in that meeting has now also got the feedback, and they can improve and learn for their meeting as well next time. So this is my one takeaway, to please start looking at your individual meetings and what are the purpose, outcome, and results you want to achieve from that meeting. So this is the journey SAIMM is going to take over the next year and beyond that, so that this is a continual process. And that is the end of my presentation. It doesn't want to change slides, so it's perfect. Are there any questions? Come, there's got to be a question. Number 6. Why are we having this meeting? Well, did I achieve the outcomes? Did I achieve the outcomes that the title of the presentation specified? Yeah. So that was easy, eh? Great. Well, thank you very much. I hope I explained nicely what an operating model is. If there's anything you're not sure about, you're more than welcome to chat to me or even reach out to me. All right. Or come and see what we're doing in the SAIMM's operating model of the next year. Great. Thank you. Who'd I call on now? Mark Monroe.
Thank you, Gary. Can I put this back in here? Well, Gary, thank you. That was good. That was very good. Very different from previous presidential addresses. Really enjoyed it. It was good. When you said, you know, everyone in the industry is operating 2 levels below where they should be, and probably getting paid 1 level above where they should be. Because of that, it reminded me of a time where my coach mentor pointed out to me that that phenomena was all my fault. Because I used to phone the general managers up and say, hey, where's your tons? Eh? And he pointed out, but Mark, it's not your general manager's job to deliver the tons. Eh? You've got miners and ship bosses. If you find a miner, you ask him where's his tons, but not a general manager. And that's like, a leader's job is not actually to win the game, or a coach's job is not to win the game. It's to build a team that will win the game. So when you phone the general manager up, don't make him chase locos and trucks up and down to get the tons out the mine. Phone him up and ask him, what have you done to make your team better? And obviously, it starts with making people better, making teams better, and making systems that support people in delivery of that better. So it features exactly, it links up to what you said. And that model was the care and growth operating model. So prime job of a leader is to care for your people, grow them, and then hold them accountable. Much like parenthood, I think. So no, good. That is inspiring, and if you continue on this trajectory, I predict it'll be a good year this year. So thank you for that. So ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, as we bring the annual general meeting to a close, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to all who attended this meeting and participated today. Your time, insights, and engagement are truly appreciated. Thank you to Gary for your presidential address, very presidential, thank you. We wish him all the best for his term in office and look forward to seeing the implementation of the new SAIMM operating model. Thank you to Elias Matinda for his tenure as president, and to William Jorgen for his role as honorary treasurer this year. To Kondwani Banda for having completed 2 terms as the YPC chairperson as well. And a special thank you to Richard Beck, who I believe was the president of the SAIMM in 91-92 period. So thank you very much for attending and being a member for such a very, very long time. Thank you to all the branch chairpersons, and thanks for making the time to attend the branch chairpersons lunch that was held earlier today. Thank you to the past presidents and presidents of other organizations for being with us tonight. To our members, thank you for your continued support and commitment. Your involvement ensures that we remain accountable and focused on the values and goals of our great organization. A special thanks to our office bearers, council members, and committee chairs for their leadership and dedication over the past year. Your contributions are the backbone of what we do. And finally, to Sam and the Secretariat team, thank you for the hard work and preparation that made today's AGM possible, and in fact, made every activity and achievement during the course of this past year achievable. Thank you very much. Sam and your team, I presume that clap was for you, huh? Thank you. We look forward to another year of progress, collaboration, and impact to move our industry forward into this exciting future. Thank you once again to everyone that attended and is online, and please stay connected with us over the following months to see the outcome of this year to ensure it is a success. I hereby declare the meeting closed. Thank everyone for their online attendance and invite members and guests that are present now to adjourn and join us all in the adjoining room for refreshments. I see those refreshments are not in the adjoining room, they're in the back room there. As we adjourn, I ask all office bearers, council members, YPC, branch chairpersons, past presidents to please remain behind in the front of the room that photos may be taken. With that, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're adjourned.